Hi, I'm Justin Beatar of Beatar Lawyers and Skippy Legal. We'll hop to it. Fire, it's a symbol of warmth and homeliness. It's also a symbol of devastation and absolute destruction. Consider this. I was talking to a client who gave me a great idea for this podcast today. Chris, an absolute thank you and a big shout out to you. Now imagine this set of circumstances. You're married, in a family relationship, and you've got children. Your children have grown. They're now adults and they're exploring the world. Now the question is, have your children considered what would happen in the case of an emergency? Who will make decisions on their behalf? It's not only a question about us as adults, with our collective fortunes, if we're lucky enough to be in that position. We've earned money, we've purchased property, we've gained assets, and we've grown our families. But what about our children, the next generation? Have you thought about, or have your children thought about, most importantly, who's going to make these decisions for them? Think of the example. We finish school at roughly age 18, so by law we're considered adults. We go overseas, we have a gap year. It could be 1 or 2 years. What's going to happen if, whilst pulling beers in a pub in London, an accident happens and you're suddenly finding your child in hospital, or they find themselves in hospital? Who's going to make decisions on their behalf? Who's going to make the medical decisions on their behalf? You, as a parent, you're here in Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, Perth, somewhere in Australia, and that's your home. But your children are travelling, and they're travelling everywhere. So the important question is, have you had the conversation with your children about fixing these documents and having them in place for these very, very important events, these life events that can happen? So guardianship is incredibly important. An enduring power of attorney is also important. Now you might ask me, why would an enduring power of attorney be important? Well, obviously it relates to financial transactions. Money matters, right? Well, children, do they have money? Yes, they do. They've got bank accounts. They might own a car. They've got superannuation, right? You know what's involved with a super fund in most cases? Our kids have done some cafe work. They're with an industry super fund, and with that comes a life insurance policy of $250,000 straight up, without them increasing that life insurance. Automatically there's assets there to be considered. So a power of attorney is critical, an enduring power of attorney even more so. In a previous podcast I discussed the difference between an enduring power of attorney and one that's not expressed to be enduring. So the difference here, just to remind you, an enduring power of attorney survives certain events. These events are when you lose capacity. So what does capacity mean? Capacity means that you've got the ability to make decisions. What does the ability to make decisions mean? Well, this means that you're not in a coma, right? So you haven't been involved in an accident. You're not under general anaesthetic in theatre in an operation. You can't make decisions, of course, in that situation. And of course, if you lose your mental faculties. So these are cases why you must ensure that your children have enduring powers of attorney. The guardianship, of course, is always expressed to be enduring. It's really important. Now, for each of these documents, your children need to make an alternative appointment. There's got to be a primary person and there's got to be a secondary person, a backup if you like. They can appoint several people. So you as mum and dad, for example, or the parents of the children can be appointed jointly as the enduring power of attorney or the enduring guardian. Now the big question is who the alternative might be. So there might be an older child that could well fulfill this role, or you might have a brother or sister, the child's auntie or uncle who could also fulfill this role. So it's critical to make sure that your kids also have their estate plan in place. Now, of course, travelling, we travel. We've spoken about that. Why not have a will as well? Now, most kids don't have assets, much to speak of, but of course they're starting, and I've already spoken about that. life insurance is automatic under an industry super fund, and that's a very valuable asset. In most cases, your kids own other assets, like the motor vehicle. They own possessions. They own a set of snow skis, for example. So these are assets that have to be dealt with, and that's what the administration of the estate's going to do. Most children appoint their parents as the executor. It's pretty important. It's a pretty important role, but also it's a good idea to have a backup, and you should discuss this with your kids. Now, if your kids want to fly free and be free, well, that's fine as well. But remember, there is this Succession Act, and it's limited in terms of what gifts it can do and how the estate is administered. And that applies to any adult. The most important tip I could give anyone is do these documents. It's a step in time, it saves 9. And it will save a whole lot of heartache and grief later. Thanks for watching. I'm Justin Beta.